I have one question. Dana, can you come up? Maybe you can explain it to us as a group.
She wanted me to talk a little bit about Sensible BC and other provinces, how it's not just a BC thing, and although in British Columbia we're the only province that has a referendum system, the idea of provincializing federal marijuana, both medical and recreational or non-medical, is something we should be pushing for, because we can have more success at the provincial level, in some provinces anyways, at getting a better policy. And if healthcare is provincial jurisdiction, alcohol and tobacco are provincial jurisdiction. If the federal government removes, if we succeed in British Columbia, other provinces should be pushing for the same thing and should be lobbying their provincial governments. Every province pays for the cost of the federal prohibition. All these mandatory minimums are done on the backs of the provinces. Every penalty under 2 years in length is served in a provincial prison, and a few of the mandatories are longer than that, but almost all of them are under 2 years, and the vast majority will be provincial. And in Quebec especially, they're already, the Law Association is fighting against this. They've really resisted more than any other province against the mandatory minimums, and we should be calling on our provincial MLAs in every province to reject the mandatory minimums, to speak out against this kind of stuff, and to provincialize marijuana policy, and to bring dispensaries and the medical marijuana program as a whole into provincial jurisdiction. And the federal government might like that in a way when it comes to medical marijuana. If they can just get rid of the whole thing, let provinces deal with it, and they don't even have to do it anymore, that might actually be something Health Canada might like in some way.
My experience tells me that somebody's going to grow 5 plants that never go into 6. And they'll be able to spread out across a whole football field, and when they bust you, they'll say it's only 5 plants in order to avoid the 6.
Okay, so
but basically, just the idea that especially if we win our referendum in, next year, that this should be something that should spread across Canada, and other provinces should be saying, hey, they can do it in BC, why can't we do this in Ontario? We should do the same thing here.
Okay, but when we last met in Vancouver, you were explaining, you explained to the group about how you have a unique constitution.
The referendum system
Yeah.
is what allows us to force the government to get this legislation passed. But this law could be passed by the government without the referendum system.
Okay.
So in Ontario, you can't collect
Defund
signatures
it,
and have a referendum. But you can still tell your political MLAs, or MPPs, you call them there, you can still tell them, hey, we want you to do this.
Yeah.
And I would love it if in BC, if we don't have to have a referendum and they'll just pass it here. That's another goal and something we want to push towards, but I don't expect them. I think we'll need a referendum. But if BC passes it especially, then in other provinces it's even more of a reality. Well, they did it there. Let's do the same thing here, right?
The polling would fit to poll heavily in these other provinces to show that they too would support what happens in
and I think the polls show that for the most part.
So the campaign would be for the provinces to defund the police for
Yes.
for
The law that we've written,
the campaign.
I would expect, and I can maybe get Kirk to look at it, but I would expect the law that we've written could, with maybe a few words here and there, would have to change to fit Ontario, but the essence of the legislation would be exactly the same.
Right.
And if people
Without
contact
a referendum.
Without a referendum, just tell them.
just
So we can do it
defund
here
it.
too. Yeah, they can just pass it. The
Defund
referendum is just a way of getting the law passed,
Okay.
because I don't expect either party to have the courage or the desire just to do it anyways. But I'd rather they just did it and save us all the time and hassle and expense of having a referendum.
Ontario and Quebec.
But
That's what we need.
but yeah, so any province could do that in the same way, and we should all be pushing towards that provincially to change the federal law. So anyways, I just wanted to put that out there, so the idea that it's something, and people contact me all the time saying, is there sensible Alberta? Is there sensible Ontario? And I tell them stuff, but I should really be also encouraging them to get in touch with the local people
Well,
there
is
as
a
well to build that, right?
sensible-
But,
or no, it's a Stop the Violence Ontario.
yeah, no, but I mean, they don't have to, and it doesn't be called, we can call it something else. I mean, sensible is good, it's a nice name, but if any group, you don't have to create a new group there. The Normal Women's Alliance could promote this sensible piece of legislation. You don't need to create a
That
whole
would be a good-
other sensible Ontario group, right?
That would be a good campaign for Normal, because you do have reps in all the provinces. You know, like that would be something that Normal could take on as a, active campaign. Yeah, you're a bunch of lawyers.
A bunch of lawyers.
Okay, that's
That'd be 2 of us.